Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On ATL. Of course, I'm at Mark Zinno, Markzinno. Check out all the shows that we have right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. After A to Z, have Hitting Hard with John Chuckery, ATL Day Ones with Jarvis Davis and Tanitra Batiste. Of course, our Braves postcast with Grant McCauley, who's scheduled to join us tomorrow as the Braves wrap up their series in Milwaukee today. As well, don't forget about Locked On Falcons with Aaron Freeman. He joined us yesterday. Go back and listen to that interview. He and I always have some great conversations around the Falcons. And, of course, Locked On Hawks with Brad Rowland. The entire team here building something great, and we love having you guys along with us. So we certainly appreciate all the support and all the love that you've given Locked On Sports Atlanta. Okay, the Atlanta Hawks, and we've spent a lot of time talking about their offseason, but I think it's important to look at their offseason sort of through the lens of what we're watching right now in the NBA postseason, and in particular the Eastern Conference Finals. Game one of the Eastern Conference Finals last night between Miami and Boston. If you didn't watch, you missed. Jimmy Butler score 41 points in 41 minutes, completely put the team on his back, especially in the second half, overcome a 13-point deficit, and they go out and they win game one. And, we talked earlier in the week about the defenses that were in the Eastern Conference Finals and how the Hawks need to emulate that. But, I just smile when I watch Jimmy Butler play. Like, every team should have a Jimmy Butler. He is by far and away like the best teammate in the NBA. I know that there are better stars and players to build around, Giannis or KD or whoever it may be. Like, those are guys that obviously you build around, but I would love to build my team around a Jimmy Butler. It's got to be so damn easy. It literally has to be one of the easiest things to do because the guy just shows up to work every day and does exactly what's expected of him. He does his job, and you never have to worry about effort. You never have to worry about any of the other stuff. He's very quiet. He's kind of got like that hard hat and lunch pail kind of attitude of going to work every day. And it's so great to watch, and he's got that mean streak to him that you really love. And I'll never forget when he was with the Timberwolves and that story that came out that he got pissed in practice one day. And I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but he got upset in practice one day and he took all of the other bench players against the other four starters and allowed them to pick whoever they wanted in the fifth. And so he took all the guys at the end of the bench and him, and they played, 5-on-5 in practice. They scrimmaged heads up, and Jimmy Butler destroyed them. Flat out destroyed the other starting four. It's that right there, like that sold me on Jimmy Butler as one of the best, athletes, I guess, of my generation. Has one of the best mindset of any professional athlete I've ever seen. I mean, could you imagine Jimmy Butler and Trae Young together, like as a 1-2 punch? That would be, incredible. I don't think they could ever get them, but it would certainly be incredible if they actually did. But regardless, all right, enough on Jimmy Butler because the Hawks have their own challenges coming up here in this offseason, and our good buddy Chris Kirschner of The Athletic, if you guys don't read his work, get a subscription to The Athletic. It's well worth it. If you're a Hawks fan, just for Chris's work alone, it's pivotal because he is so good and knows this team inside and out as good as anybody else does in Atlanta and beyond. Now, that said, we've talked a lot about on the show about how the Hawks are going to go about rebuilding, and I really don't know. And rebuilding might not even be the right word. Retooling, I think, is better just because you have your superstar, so you don't have to rebuild. You don't have to find that person to build around. It's like the NFL where you don't have a quarterback. You have to find that quarterback to build around. The Hawks have their star. What are they going to do to make this team better? And I have a hard time believing that anything can happen without a major move, without a major trade or roster reconstruction somehow. There's a good chance John Collins is not going to be here. He's the best trade chip they have. He's under contract. He's under salary control, and nobody has to worry about losing him. They can get him for an investment for a couple of years, and he's the second best player on this roster. And you're going to have to probably part with him if you don't think that he's the number two that you want. But the other part of this, and we've talked about this a lot too, and Chris Kirschner, again, goes into this in his column. And he wrote the column along with NBA writer John Hollinger, who is the Grizzlies vice president of basketball operations for 8 years. But, they discussed the priorities, and a lot of what they go back to is Trae Young's attitude. Does Trae Young have the right attitude to elevate this team and elevate this roster? And I don't know the answer to that yet. I don't think any of us know the answer, but I would lean on that there probably needs to be a little bit of an attitude adjustment from Trae if they hope to change the outcome of games and certain things with this team. Again, the team was inconsistent as they could be this year. They lost 10 games in a row at one point. They had two separate winning streaks of 7 games. It's like feast or famine the entire season. And this is one of those things where that points to coaching a little bit. It points to preparation. It points to, the ability of these guys to understand how to get themselves out of, bad losing streaks or stay off of bad games. And I think that you need to find those players with the right mental capacity to do that, because no one really says the Hawks aren't talented. I mean, you can make statements about DeAndre Hunter and what he is and whether they're going to extend him. And look, they probably won't unless he agrees to a very team-friendly deal. It might just be on a year-to-year deal here. I know he's a restricted free agent and everything, but there's a chance he'll be back. But again, a long-term extension may be sort of out there because he just hasn't lived up to what you thought he was going to be for the number 4 overall pick. That said, the Hawks need to get deeper, and they need to just have guys who show up to work every day and do the grunt work. And that's what they're missing. I mean, that's really what they're missing overall. And so this rebuild is as much about players as it is about personality. It's as much about the talent of the player that they get and the quality of the player that they get. And can these guys mesh with Trey? Can they change him around? Can they force him to be a little bit different than what he's been before? And that's not an easy thing to do. I don't know. You don't hear Trey like openly advocating for, hey, we need John Collins back, right? Like, I know it's different and it's in a World Series, but Dansby Swanson sits there at the World Series parade and says, "Hey, sign Freddie." Like his teammates had that sort of adoration for him. I don't know if the rest of this team has that same adoration for Trey at this point. They know he's the lead dog. They know he's the MFIC, if you know what that is. If not, hit me up on Twitter. I'll tell you in a DM. But nonetheless, they know that he's the guy that everything revolves around. But are there guys sitting here going, Trey deserves more help, or we need to be better for Trey, or, we're not doing our part to help out our superstar. Like, you don't really hear that rallying cry. And sometimes to me, that's a little bit disconcerting. I mean, we've heard Kyrie back up KD. We've heard Draymond and Steph back each other up. We've heard all that from around the league, from guys who are backing up their teammates. And when they don't openly back up their teammates, it begs the question, what is the mental mindset of this team? And that's part of what I think they have to address this offseason. And so as you go through this whole deal, and we'll continue to dissect this to the nth degree, but for me, I look at it and wonder where the Hawks are going to make major changes to change not only the construct of the roster, but the mental makeup of the roster and get them in a championship caliber mindset. It'll be interesting. Coming up next, Braves will finish up their series in Milwaukee, and Ronald Acuna was back last night, so we've got a lot to dissect there. We'll do that next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you search Locked On Sports Atlanta.